So just really addressing some problems that popped up after a recent video, and the video is about questions you should or you shouldn't ask at the end of the interview. And my opinion is, I'm not giving advice on this, so be careful on your words. My opinion on this is that any question that is important to you is a valid question to ask. And I'll give a bit of an anecdote a little later on, but the rationale behind it is that you're in an interview. Interview's an expensive process. If you don't ask a question that's important to you, and everyone's different, everyone has different priorities, and one of those priorities might be time off. And if you've got responsibilities outside work, knowing what the time off is going to be important to you. So it's a perfectly valid question. When is it better to find out that there are problems? At the interview, when you've got questions to ask, and the interviewer can say, react however they want, and you walk away from the interview, or you sign the contract, you start work, and you discover that you're expected to do things that weren't discussed in the interview, and you kick yourself because you should really have asked about it in the interview. So if you have something that's important to you, then yeah, ask it. It's, for me, fundamental. It's a fundamental part of the interview. Even better, if you go to do some research on the company and you discover that their website is talking about certain aspects, and you ask them a question about it, and they might talk about family values, they might talk about free time, they might talk about the work-life balance, they might talk about empathy, they might talk about lots of things in their website that are important, and that's why they've got such good staff retention levels. You ask them about holidays, you ask them about time off, you ask about hours worked during the week, you ask them about childcare, being able to get home to look after your kids, and they react badly. Shit, do you really want to work for that company? I mean, I wouldn't. And coming on to the anecdote, that I knew a guy who, and lots of these things, one of the things I don't do is look at absolutes, always nevers. There's always grey area, and it's always down to you to take the information, make a decision on whether you think it's valid or not, run with it or not run with it. So we're going to have three types of people at the end. People who listen all the way through the video and make a decision, quite happy that they've seen another point of view, and they can now weigh up ideas and make a decision on what's best for them. People that are going to watch it and they're going to be adamant that their opposite, their opposing view is 100% accurate, and now hopefully they've got something that'll support their argument, and they're going to be able to give much stronger whys on what their position is. Then you've got the third group, which are going to be the dickheads, who simply ignore it, make stuff up, and argue against themselves that they're right. Okay, given that they're not really in a position to argue that I'm wrong. So, to the anecdote. I knew a guy who, and in his particular position, he'd been released from one job. He was looking for work, and he decided that any job was better than no job, that being in a job is a better position to get another job. Now, that's a video for another day. But he ended up going for an interview, saying what the interviewer, who was the sales director, I think, or someone within the company, a director within the company, who said whatever he thought the director wanted to hear, and that included moving addresses, moving on to the area. When he started working for the company, it soon became apparent that it was shit, that the job wasn't as was described. The company was appalling. Apparently he was supposed to have onboarding meetings every Friday at 3 o'clock, and I think the earliest one that happened was 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that. That he was left waiting in the office for not even his line manager, the director, to make time to onboard him. I mean, shit, how impressive is that? And when he finally left the company, after 3 months, his line manager took him home and asked him the directions. He said, okay, where are we going? And he gave one particular town, gave the address that he was living in, and his line manager said, I thought you lived somewhere else. And that was just how shambolic the company was. They were absolutely terrible. Nothing that was essentially promised, talked about in the interview, came true from the company side. So, what could have been saved? Now, he ended up without a job and with a significant period of unemployment after that, because not asking the questions probably damaged his chances of getting a job a lot more than not asking the questions. Asking questions which are hard is even more important. Asking questions that someone else thinks are frivolous, yeah, go for it. If it's important for you, don't care what anyone else says. It's important for you. You're probably going to save the company a lot of money. You're probably going to save yourself a lot of time. You're probably going to save yourself a lot of anxiety. So clearly it's going to depend on economic situations. That if it's a seller's market, then you're probably going to have to vary and make sure that you get the job. If you're in a position where you can pick and choose, then yeah, make sure that you're 100% comfortable. But the one thing that you can do is, if you disagree with me, make sure that you're taking bits and pieces from this video and using those rather than inventing stuff to argue against yourself. Thank you very much. Bye bye. If you want to join the program, click the link below and let's talk.